The company party was nothing but a blur. Expensive whiskey, loud laughter, the kind of fake back-patting that made you feel more like a pawn than a person. By the time the elevator doors slid open, my head was heavy and my feet unsteady. One shoved from behind, and my balance betrayed me. I stumbled forward and crashed lips first into Victoria Vance. Yes, that Victoria Vance, the director who'd sent 3 assistants crying out the door in less than a year. The woman who wore sandalwood beads on her wrists like battle armor, whose reputation was so terrifying that even New York's boldest mosquitoes seemed to leave her untouched. She was elegant, untouchable, the definition of out of my league. And now, in front of half the department, my mouth was glued to hers. Time froze. The elevator went dead silent. I scrambled backward, muttering apologies, but it was too late. A flush crept up her pale neck, her eyes sharpening into something colder than ice. Then came the slap, a sharp crack that echoed in the small space, burning my cheek and my future in one brutal sweep. "Pervert," she hissed before storming out, heels slicing the air. My co-workers didn't even bother to whisper. Someone muttered, "Well, he's finished." Another sighed, "Yeah, Miller's done." You know how Vance is with guys. They weren't wrong. Victoria Vance, better known around the office as the Vancinator, was a living legend. At 28, the youngest director in the company's history. Ruthless, efficient, with a tongue sharp enough to cut glass and a glare that could shrink grown men into children. Her sandalwood beads and incense weren't quirks. They were weapons. She was discipline personified. And me? I had just kissed her, drunken, sloppy, career-ending kissed her, in front of everyone. By morning, dread was coiled so tightly in my chest it hurt to breathe. I typed out a resignation letter. Better to quit than to be executed publicly. With trembling hands, I marched into her office, ready to beg for mercy. She didn't even look at me. She sat behind her massive mahogany desk, sipping coffee, her dark hair pulled into a severe bun, her blouse buttoned all the way up, radiating her signature do not approach energy. The sandalwood in the air was so thick it made me lightheaded. "Ms. Vance, this is my letter of resignation." I managed, placing the envelope on her desk. Finally, she looked up, her hazel eyes locked on mine. Steady, cold, impossible to read. "Why are you resigning?" she asked, her voice smooth, almost bored. I blinked. Was she serious? "Well, because of yesterday." I didn't mean for it to happen. It was an accident, and I know it made the company look bad. Her fingers tapped a slow rhythm on the desk. "So you thought you could just run away?" Her tone dropped a few degrees, and suddenly the air in the office felt thinner. Before I could answer, she pulled open a drawer and slid a crisp manila folder onto the desk. "You have 3 options," she said, her voice calm, deliberate. 1, I report you for sexual harassment. You'll never work in the city again. 2, you become my legal husband. I'll give you a $20,000 monthly allowance. Or 3, she paused, eyes locking on mine like a hawk sighting prey. We walk down to City Hall right now and get a marriage license. Otherwise, I tell HR you can just kiss me. You pin me against a stairwell wall for 3 hours. The folder sat there like a loaded gun. My throat went dry. What kind of choice was that for any sane human being? But it didn't end there. 1 week later, I woke to the sound of my apartment door clicking open. Victoria had picked a lock. She walked in, eyes bloodshot, a diamond ring in one hand, steel handcuffs in the other. Her smile was razor sharp. "Married or missing, you have 3 seconds. 3. I dropped to my knees, clutching her leg. "Married. Yes, married. I've already picked names for the kids." It was, without a doubt, the most terrifying moment of my life. More terrifying than getting caught cheating on my SATs. Not that I ever did cheat, but right then, I would have gladly faced a high school proctor instead of standing in the Dragon's Den, Victoria Vance's office, with nothing but a crumpled resignation letter in my hand. And that's how it all began. The rooftop party, the shove, the stumble, the kiss that detonated my entire life. 1 second of bad luck, one brush with the office dragon, And suddenly I was no longer just an employee. I was hers. Before I could even finish my apology, Victoria pulled open her desk drawer and dropped a red folder on the table between us. Not just any folder, the kind reserved for legal documents. My stomach flipped when I saw what it was. A marriage license application. Already filled out. My name, Ethan Miller, typed neatly across the page. She stood, leaning forward, her palms pressed against the desk as her eyes bored into mine. "You have 3 choices," she said, her voice low and deliberate. 1, I file a sexual harassment suit against you, and I will personally make sure you never work in this industry again. 2, her gaze didn't waver. You marry me. My knees went weak. The next thing I knew, I was back at my desk, gathering my things in a daze, my head spinning so hard it was a wonder I could walk. Was I really about to sell myself into marriage over one stupid, accidental kiss? But the memory of her icy glare was enough to push me into an Uber headed straight for the courthouse. And there she was, waiting at the steps as if she planned every second. Gone was the severe office armor. She'd changed into a simple white dress. For half a moment, she looked almost soft, almost gentle, until I saw the frost in her eyes. "You're 2 minutes late," she said flatly, checking her watch. "Don't let it happen again. There will be a next time." I bit back the urge to argue, because arguing with Victoria Vance was like spitting into a hurricane. I just followed her inside. During the photo for the license, the clerk kept nudging us closer, insisting we smile. "Come on, groom. Don't look like you're at a funeral. And you, bride, pretend you're happy." Victoria slipped her arm through mine, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her perfume hit me, a mix of sandalwood and something faintly floral. She leaned in, her lips brushing my ear. "Look natural," she whispered. "Or tonight, you'll find out what 3 hours in that fire stairwell really feels like." My smile snapped into place instantly. Biggest, brightest, fakest grin I'd ever worn. The clerk clicked the photo, satisfied. And just like that, 2 hours later, I was standing outside the courthouse with a marriage certificate in my hands. Married, to the office dragon herself. "Let's go," Victoria said, slipping the certificate into her purse. "Go where?" I stammered. "Back to the office." "Wait, we're going back to work?" She gave me a look like I just asked if the sky was blue. "Your paid leave doesn't start until tomorrow. We still have a project to finish today." Of course. Even marriage couldn't turn Victoria into anything but the workaholic she was. When we walked back into the office, just as lunch was ending, every head turned. Whispers followed us down the hall. Didn't Miller quit this morning? Why is he walking in with her? And why do they look so close? I wanted to sink into the carpet. Then Victoria stopped, right there in full view of everyone, and straightened my tie with the kind of intimate ease that could melt steel. "The project meeting's at 3. Don't be late," she said, her voice pitched just loud enough for half the office to hear. Then, with a small smile, she added, "And what do you want for dinner tonight?" "I'm cooking." I nearly choked. Cooking? Dinner? What the hell was this performance? Whatever's fine," I stammered, trying not to collapse under the weight of 50 staring eyes. She smiled again, softer this time, and patted my cheek. "I'll make your favorite. Braised short ribs." My heart dropped. Braised short ribs. My favorite dish. How did she know that? Had she been researching me? The afternoon dragged on like torture. I sat through the meeting with my skin prickling, stealing glances at Victoria as she held court at the head of the table, cool and commanding as ever. But every so often, her eyes flicked toward me, and the corner of her mouth curled in that private, dangerous little smile. When 5 o'clock hit, I was ready to bolt. But at 5:01, my phone lit up with a text from her. "Parking garage. P2. I stalled, hoping to be the last one out, but eventually found her leaning against a black BMW. Cool as ever. "Get in," she said, holding the driver's side door open. I frowned. "Why?" "We're going to your place. To pack." "Pack? Pack what?" She clicked her seatbelt. "We're married, Ethan. We live together. That's how this works." I vaguely remembered something about a cohabitation clause in the prenup, but still, this was moving at light speed. Isn't this a little fast? Maybe give me a few days. Her head turned sharply, her hazel eyes narrowing. Do you want to discuss the fire stairwell? That shut me up. I gave her my address. The ride was silent, her sandalwood air freshener lulling me into a strange, uneasy calm. When we pulled up in front of my walk-up in Queens, she frowned. You live here? The company pays you well enough, doesn't it? I rubbed the back of my neck, embarrassed. I sent a lot of it home. To my parents. She didn't comment, just followed me upstairs. The moment she stepped inside, her director mode kicked in. Pack the essentials. Clothes. Toiletries. Everything else, leave it. She was commanding the operation like it was another project deadline. I barely had time to think before she was already moving things around. Then she stopped, picked up a framed photo from my nightstand. Me with my mom and dad. Are these your parents? Her voice softened, softer than I'd ever heard it. I nodded. They have kind faces, she murmured, placing the photo back with surprising care. Then, glancing at me, she added, we should set up a time to meet them. Next week. I blinked. What? You're my parents. She raised a brow. We're married, Ethan. You don't hide that from family. And just like that, the dragon was already planning Sunday dinner with my mom and dad. How was I supposed to explain this to my parents? Hey, Mom, Dad, so I accidentally kissed my boss, and now she's blackmailed me into marriage. How was your week? They'd think I'd lost my mind. After packing up my things, I followed Victoria to her place, a luxury high-rise on the Upper East Side. The lobby gleamed, the security guards stood like statues, and everything about it screamed money. Inside, her apartment was a museum of black and white minimalism. Spotless. Cold. Like a showroom nobody actually lived in. Your room is over there, she said, pointing to the guest room. We'll share the main bathroom. And don't ever step into my bedroom without permission. I nodded like a soldier taking orders. She tossed me a key. Tomorrow, we're shopping for wedding rings. You know your size? I blinked. How the hell would I know my ring size? She read my face, then calmly took my hand, running her fingers over mine, measuring. About this size, she murmured. Get a matching set. Make sure they look expensive. And just like that, she disappeared into her room, leaving me alone in the cavernous silence of her apartment. So this was my life now. The next morning, she dragged me out of bed for ring shopping on Fifth Avenue. The jeweler greeted us like royalty, presenting tray after tray of dazzling sets. Victoria's eyes landed on a pair of platinum bands, simple but sharp, each with a single diamond. Price tag? Enough to make my pulse jump. Try it, she said, sliding the man's ring across the counter. I slipped it on. Perfect fit. We'll take them, she declared, handing over a card without a blink. As we left, I couldn't stop myself. How did you know my size? She pressed the elevator button, her eyes flicking toward me. When you fell, you flailed your arms. I grabbed your hand. Seriously? This woman noticed everything. But she wasn't done. From rings, we moved to clothing. As my husband, you can't look like that, she said, scanning me like a fashion editor judging a crime scene. Soon, I was buried under designer suits and casual, where that probably cost more than my rent. The sales associate beamed at her. Your wife is so thoughtful. Such great taste. I forced a laugh. Thoughtful? Please. She was just embarrassed to be seen with me. By lunchtime, we landed at a high-end Italian restaurant. Without even glancing at the menu, Victoria ordered for both of us. Every single dish my favorite. How do you even know what I like? I asked, suspicious. She looked at me like it was obvious. It's in your employee file. Of course. She'd run a full background check on me. On the way back, she dropped another bomb. There's a company gala next week. You'll attend as my spouse. Don't embarrass me. My stomach twisted. Who's going to be there? Senior management. Key clients. Then, almost as an afterthought, and the chairman, He's been pestering me about my personal life for years. No pressure, right? The days leading up to it slipped into a strange rhythm. We lived together, but separately. She had her routines. Up at dawn for yoga, lights out at 10 sharp. The place always smelled of sandalwood, and sometimes, when she cooked, the food was incredible. Too incredible. She knew everything. How I took my coffee, that I hated cilantro, that my showers were always lukewarm. Details I hadn't even realized I repeated daily. It was unsettling. Friday night. I was halfway through a video game when she knocked and walked in, holding a bow tie. Wear this to the gala. She set it down, her eyes sweeping over the chaos of my room. Clean this up before tomorrow. I nodded quickly, but she wasn't done. When you meet the chairman, you'll tell him we've been dating for a year. We met at a charity ball. She handed me a sheet of paper. 3 pages. A fully fabricated backstory. Fake education, fake family, fake career. Isn't this a little much? I asked weakly. If you don't get caught, you'll memorize it, she said, her tone as sharp as ice. The unfinished threat hung heavy in the air. That night, I studied harder than I had for my actual SATs. By the time the gala arrived, I was wearing an obscenely expensive suit, a glittering ring, and walking into a ballroom with Victoria Vance on my arm. The chandeliers sparkled, the city's elite buzzed around us, and my palms were slick with sweat. "Relax," she whispered, her lips brushing my ear. "You're my husband now, not my assistant." I straightened my back, trying to look like I belonged. Then we reached the chairman, an older man, warm, with a kind smile. He clapped me on the shoulder. "So, Victoria finally brought her husband out of hiding. Nice to meet you, young man. Tell me, how did you win over our company's ice queen?" My rehearsed line slid out, smooth as butter. We met at a charity ball. Love at first sight. Victoria leaned against me, her voice soft and perfectly convincing. "We've been together a year now," she said sweetly, "and he's been so—" She played the perfect wife that night, smiling, leaning into me, making everyone believe we were the golden couple. And for a moment, even I almost believed it. The gala ended without disaster, but inside, I was unraveling. Then came the whispers. In the restroom, I overheard 2 colleagues chuckling, their voices low but sharp. "Did you hear? The Vancinator actually eloped. No one even knew she was dating. And look at Miller. He looks terrified of her." My stomach dropped like a stone. Terrified? They weren't wrong. I slipped back into the ballroom, trying to bury the panic. Victoria was deep in conversation with a client, but her eyes found me instantly. One look, and I knew what she expected. So I walked over, wrapped an arm around her waist, and forced a smile. Play the part. "What are we all laughing about?" I asked, trying to sound charming. "Just telling them about my wonderful husband," she purred. Her smile never faltered, but her fingers pinched my side, a silent command. "Shut up before you ruin this." After the gala, the tension broke like a snapped violin string. We slumped into her car, both of us exhaling relief. "You did all right," Victoria said at last, her voice softer than usual. A compliment. Rare. Precious. Though your acting was a little stiff. I pouted. It was my first time. I'm new at this. She didn't bother responding. Her eyes stayed on the road, cold and unbothered, while I sank into exhaustion. By the time we reached the apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, feeling like I'd survived a 12-hour interrogation. She kicked off her heels, rubbing her ankles, and then, out of nowhere, looked at me. "Do you know how to give a massage?" I froze. "A little. My parents have bad backs, so I learned some things." "Massage my feet." Her tone wasn't a request. It was an order. I hesitated, then obeyed. Her feet were delicate, nails painted a dark crimson. It felt far too intimate, like crossing a line I hadn't agreed to. She sighed, melting back against the cushions. "Not bad. You could do this more often." I didn't answer, but in my head, one thought screamed, she's enjoying this way too much. Later, she poured me a glass of wine, something she'd never done before. "A toast," she said, raising her glass, to a successful performance. I clinked mine against hers, the burn of the wine sliding down my throat. For once, I almost felt seen, but then she shattered it with a single sentence. My parents want to meet you next week. I choked. So soon? She arched an eyebrow. Why not? Should we wait until the children are born? Children. My heart stopped. My mind screamed. But I swallowed the panic, forcing a nod. Is there anything I should prepare? No. I'll handle everything. She swirled her wine, then disappeared into her room, leaving me alone with the kind of silence that presses on your chest. The next morning, she was gone. A note on the counter read, Meditation Center. Back tonight. I had nothing but time and too much fear, so I started cleaning. Maybe good behavior would earn me some points. That's when I found it. A small notebook wedged in the sofa cushions. I shouldn't have opened it, but curiosity won. The first page froze my blood. March 15th made another assistant cry. Why is everyone so incompetent? April 2nd, chairman pushing me to marry again. Annoying. April 10th, new analyst, Ethan Miller. Seemed sweet. My hand began to shake. The entries continued. My name scattered across every page. May 5th. He looks good in a white shirt. May 20th. Receptionist gave Ethan chocolates. Irritating. Dr. Bonus. July 10th. Dreamed about Ethan. Had to change the sheets. August 3rd. Installed tracking app on his phone. August 20th. Camera in his apartment. My chest tightened. My pulse roared in my ears. This wasn't journal. It was evidence. A timeline of obsession. September 30th stopped me cold. The company party. He kissed me. Finally kissed me. October 1st. We're married. He's mine. It wasn't an accident. None of it was. The shove in the elevator. The kiss. This entire marriage. It had been orchestrated. She'd been planning this since spring. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Home. Be there in 5. Another message followed instantly. Did you find my journal? The notebook slipped from my trembling hands. My eyes darted to the vent above me. A tiny lens blinked red. Watching. Recording. My breath hitched. She hadn't just been watching me. She'd been controlling me. And now she knew. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. And Victoria stepped inside, silk dress flowing, charm bracelet dangling from her wrist. Her eyes fell on the journal in my hands. Her face drained pale. You read it. Her voice was low, shaking. I stammered, hiding the journal behind me. And no. She advanced slowly, her heels clicking like a metronome of doom. Her eyes darkened. Give it to me? I stepped back, my voice breaking. Victoria, the tracker, the camera, what the hell is this? You need to explain. For a split second, her mask cracked. Fear flickered across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by steel. And in that silence, I realized the truth. I wasn't her husband. I was her prisoner. There was no point in pretending anymore. Her lips curved into a slow, chilling smile, the kind that made the air feel heavy. I noticed you the day you started, she confessed, her voice low, almost tender. I was the one leaving you breakfast from that coffee shop you like. I stayed late just to share the same room. I found excuses to brush against your hand. I even drank from your water bottle. Step by step, she closed the distance between us, her eyes locked on mine. Do you have any idea how hard it was? Watching you every day, so close, but untouchable. Until that night at the party. My mind spun. The elevator. The shove. It hadn't been chance. I stood in front of you on purpose, she whispered, her fingers grazing my cheek like fire. I had someone nudge you from behind. That kiss? I've been planning it for a very long time. Why me? The words cracked out of my throat. Her answer was a dagger wrapped in silk. Because you're sweet, and because you look easy to control. A soft laugh escaped her lips. Then she leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. And besides, you got a great ass. My knees almost buckled. What kind of reason was that? So now you know, she murmured, her fingers trailing down my chest. Thinking about divorce? Too late. She pulled out her phone. A video flickered to life. A recording of me, just minutes ago, reading her journal. My blood ran cold. Reading someone's private thoughts? Her head tilted, her voice mocking. That's a serious invasion of privacy. Add that to the harassment claim. Now tell me, who do you think the judge will believe? I was trapped, caged in a game she had been winning since the very beginning. But then, something inside me shifted. A fire I didn't know I had. Why should I let her control me, just because she was my boss, just because she was beautiful? Before I could stop myself, I closed the distance, slamming her against the wall. Her eyes widened. For the first time, genuine shock flickered across her face. What were you doing? You wanted a husband, didn't you? My voice was rough, guttural. Well, you got one. And I kissed her. It wasn't like the accidental brush in the elevator. This was fierce, raw, a desperate bid for control. She struggled at first, then melted, her response just as wild as mine. Her arms coiled around my neck, pulling me closer until the world fell away. By the time we broke apart, her lipstick was smeared, her dress rumpled, her eyes dark and glassy. You, she began, breathless. But I didn't let her finish. Another kiss. Harder. My hands lifting her, setting her down on the dining table. The journal and her meditation charm clattered to the floor. She gasped between kisses. Ethan, you've gotten bold. You made me this way. I growled. Her nails dug into my hair, her voice husky. The bedroom. Not out here. I carried her across the threshold, into the room I'd never been allowed to enter. The master bedroom, cold, minimalist, stripped of warmth. A place that felt more like a museum than a home. But when I laid her on the bed, she pulled me down with surprising softness. Her hand tugged at my tie. Are you sure? Her eyes searched mine, vulnerable for the first time. Once you take this step, there's no going back. I unbuttoned my shirt slowly, meeting her gaze. You stole my chance to go back the moment you trapped me. And then, for the first time, her smile wasn't cold or calculated. It was warm, almost human. Then don't go back, she whispered. The night blurred into fever, and by morning, I woke in a haze, clothes scattered across the floor, her body tangled in mine. And the most terrifying part? I hadn't hated it. She looked so different in sleep. Lashes soft against her cheeks, lips parted, her face almost innocent. Nothing like the corporate predator who ruled my days. I tried to slip out of bed, but her arm shot out, pulling me back. Where are you going? She murmured, voice husky with sleep. To make breakfast, I stammered. She smirked, eyes half-lidded. Can you even cook? I can make ramen. She chuckled softly, pressing a button on her nightstand. The housekeeper will handle it. Come back to bed. Her arms wrapped around me, her breath warm against my skin. It's Sunday, she whispered. I want you to come somewhere with me. Where? I asked, wary. She yawned. To buy a new bed. This one's too small, and not nearly sturdy enough. Heat crawled up my face, memories of the night flashing hard and fast. I froze. As she drifted back to sleep, I let my eyes wander the room. For the first time, I noticed a small picture frame on the nightstand. A little girl, bright smile, teddy bear in her arms. A child that looked exactly like a young Victoria. Innocent, untouched by the sharp edges she wore now. I reached for it, but before my fingers brushed the frame, her voice cut through the silence. Don't touch that. Her eyes were open, watching me. Her hand shot out, gripping my wrist, sharp and sudden. Her eyes, wide, alert, cut through the room like a blade. Sorry. I blurted, pulling back. She exhaled slowly, rubbing her temples. It's fine. I just don't like people touching my things. And just like that, the warmth between us evaporated. The air went cold, brittle. She slipped out of bed, pulling a silk robe over her shoulders, her movements precise, deliberate. Get up. We're leaving after breakfast. I watched her glide out of the room, and it hit me. This woman was full of secrets. The truth was, I didn't know her at all. Breakfast was a picture out of a magazine, bacon, eggs, toast, served perfectly by the housekeeper. Victoria ate quickly, every motion efficient, controlled. She dabbed her lips with a napkin. We leave in 30 minutes. First a furniture store, then to see my parents. I choked mid-sip, spraying milk across the table. Today, we're seeing your parents. Yes. Her brow arched, unimpressed. Weren't you the one acting all responsible last night? Cold feet now. The word parents echoed in my head, my stomach dropping. My palms went clammy. Shouldn't I prepare something? Prepare what? She stood, napkin folding neatly on her plate. Just show up. I followed after her, desperate. At least a gift? What are your parents like? She stopped. Her back stiffened, her face unreadable. A pause stretched, heavy. They passed away. I froze. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. She shook her head, almost impatient. It's fine. We're going to visit their graves. The ground shifted under me. A cemetery. I've been expecting handshakes. Awkward small talk. Not this. She must have seen the panic on my face, because her tone softened, almost tender. I just need to tell them that I'm married. From a jewelry box, she lifted a small jade pendant worn smooth with age. This was my mother's. She always said she'd give it to my daughter-in-law. She pressed it into my hand. It's yours now. The stone was warm, carrying her touch, her history. My chest tightened. This is too valuable, I whispered, trying to give it back. She curled my fingers around it. Keep it. Your family now. Her words rang strange in my ears, but I slipped the pendant over my neck. When we left the apartment, she took my arm, her voice lowering. When you meet my uncle, say as little as possible. Just nod, answer directly, and don't mention my work. I nodded too many times, nervous. My uncle raised me after my parents' accident, she said. Her tone was flat, but in her eyes, something flickered, something unspoken. The car ride was silent. She stared out the window, lost somewhere far away. Finally, I whispered, Your parents' car accident? Yes. The word was clipped, final. But then she turned, a surprising softness brushing her lips. Don't be sorry. Just be good to me from now on. The cemetery sat on a quiet hillside, the air thick with pine and silence. Her parent headstone was etched with their smiling faces, young, bright, full of warmth. Victoria looked so much like her mother. She laid flowers with reverence, lit incense, then tugged me down beside her. Mom, Dad, she whispered, her voice fragile in the still air. This is Ethan, my husband. He's good to me. You don't have to worry. She bowed 3 times. I mimicked her, fumbling, my voice awkward. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Vance. I'll take care, Victoria. Even as I said it, I knew it was the other way around. As we turned to leave, a man stood at the gate, middle-aged in a flawless 3-piece suit, prayer beads clicking lightly in his hand. Uncle, Victoria said, her voice steady, respectful. His eyes cut to me, sharp as knives. This is the one you chose? Yes. She nudged me forward. Hello, sir. I bowed slightly. What do you do? His stare pinned me in place. I'm an analyst at Victoria's company. His frown deepened. An analyst? How did you two meet? I swallowed hard, ready to spin the story Victoria had drilled into me. Charity ball, fake backstory, everything rehearsed. But his voice cracked like thunder. The truth. I froze, my tongue tangled. She has a great ass. The words slipped out before my brain caught them. Silence crashed down. Victoria's eyes went wide, burning into me with murder. And then her uncle laughed. A deep, booming laugh that rattled through the cemetery. He clapped me on the shoulder, heavy and firm. Interesting. You taking care of her or else. The threat lingered, unspoken but sharp. He walked away, beads swinging in his hand. Victoria pinched my arm so hard I nearly yelped. What was that? She hissed. I panicked. I muttered. Her gaze lingered on her uncle's retreating figure. something complicated flickering in her expression. Then she exhaled and grabbed my hand. Come on, let's go by that bed. The ride back was quiet. Too quiet. Finally, I spoke. Your uncle, he doesn't like me much. She didn't even look at me. He doesn't like anyone, especially not anyone I choose to marry. Why? This time, she did look at me, her eyes dark, steady. Because he thinks everyone who gets close to me is after his money. And in that silence, a new truth sank in. Her uncle wasn't just strict. He was powerful, one of the wealthiest men in the state. And Victoria, the woman who had trapped me, was his sole heir. So, what do you think I'm after? I asked, half joking, half serious. The money or the woman? She lifted one eyebrow, daring me. I thought for a second, then sighed. My life. Honestly, I'm just trying to make sure you don't kill me. Her laugh came sharp and unexpected, ringing through the car like glass breaking. Smart man, she said, and for the first time since I'd known her, she laughed without restraint. Her eyes crinkled at the corners. She was beautiful, so beautiful I caught myself staring. What? She asked, the smile slipping away. Nothing. I scratched my head. It's just you have a really nice laugh. You should do it more often. She blinked, caught off guard. A faint blush rose to her cheeks before she quickly looked away. Out the window. Don't be ridiculous. But I caught it. The tiny twitch at the corner of her lips. A smile she tried to hide. At the furniture store, Victoria was all business. No hesitation, no wasted motion. She pointed at the biggest, sturdiest king-size bed in the place. We need something solid, she told the salesman. Extremely solid. The salesman gave a knowing smirk. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. But she wasn't done. And it needs to be quiet. Good for soundproofing. Shock absorption. Okay, I think he gets it, I muttered, tugging at her sleeve before she embarrassed me into calling security. From there, she dragged me into a lingerie shop, holding up a silk set like she was choosing office supplies. What about this one? I touched the fabric. Feels nice. Then I saw the price tag. My stomach dropped. For figures? For pajamas? She shot me a look. It's not your money. Unless... Her lips brushed my ear, her whisper a dangerous caress. You'd rather I were nothing at all? My face burned red. How was she so good at this? We left with 2 matching sets. On the drive back, she hummed along to the radio, lighter than I'd ever seen her. At a red light, she glanced at me. You did well today. As a reward, I'll give you one wish. Anything. My eyes lit up. Anything except a divorce, she added quickly. I thought hard. Then, can you take down the camera in our living room and the tracker on my phone? Her eyebrow arched. Privacy? Is there any part of you I haven't seen already? What exactly do you need privacy for? I had no answer. My mouth just opened and closed. She laughed, but then tilted her head, considering. Since you asked nicely, maybe I'll consider it. Really? Hope surged through me. When you've earned it, she added, dashing it just as quickly. I slumped back, crushed. But then she smirked. All right, I'll give you a chance. Impress me tonight, and I'll take down one camera. Any camera? I sat up straight. Yes, she said, her look so loaded it made my stomach flip. Challenge accepted, I whispered to myself. For the sake of my privacy, I was ready to give everything I had. Turns out I was painfully naive. That night, I pulled every move I could think of. By morning, I was wrecked, my back ready to snap in two. Victoria, meanwhile, lay against me, purring like a cat in cream. Your technique needs work, she teased, patting my cheek. But you can try again tomorrow. I wanted to cry. This was my life now. The next day at work, I shuffled in, running on fumes. The receptionist smirked. Rough night, Miller? Big plans with Mrs. Vance. I forced a weak smile and fled to my desk, avoiding Victoria like the plague. But at 4:57, my phone buzzed. Working late. Quarterly reports. My office. A cold dread washed over me. I was doomed. That evening, After everyone else left, I stepped into her office. "Lock the door," she said, eyes still on her screen. I obeyed. She gestured to a stack of papers the size of a small mountain. "These all need to be finalized tonight." Relief hit me. Just work. Actual work. An hour later, I realized how wrong I was. "This number's wrong," she murmured, leaning over my shoulder, her chest pressed into my back, her breath warm on my neck. "Recalculate." I gripped the desk. "Victoria, please don't do this." "Do what?" Her voice was innocent. "I'm helping you work." Her hand slid to my shoulder, her thumb tracing slow, deliberate circles. I couldn't take it. I shot to my feet. "I can't work like this." She smiled. "Then let's not work." And just like that, overtime turned into something else entirely. Her desk, the break room, even the conference table. She was relentless. By the time I collapsed on her office sofa, I couldn't move. She, on the other hand, looked radiant, even giving me a smug little massage. "There's been some improvement," she said, pleased with herself. "As a reward, you can take down one camera." My eyes snapped open. "For real?" "Yes." "Which one?" "The living room," I said without hesitation. "Done." She tapped her phone, showing me the feed. Now black. It was that easy. Just like that. I nearly cried with relief. The next morning, I found a new device on the bedroom ceiling. Smaller, sleeker, with a glowing red light. "What's this?" I asked. "Out with the old and with the new," she replied casually. "Better resolution. Audio too." I stared at her, betrayed all over again. I should never have trusted her. The days that followed blurred into fire and ice. By day, I was her assistant. By night, her husband. And all the while, her cameras multiplied, her trackers spread, until I realized the truth. There wasn't a single part of my life she didn't own. Victoria's control didn't stop at our home. It grew, piece by piece. The phone tracker, the car GPS, even the cameras multiply in every corner of our lives. I protested at first, but somehow she always silenced my arguments, usually with a kiss or in bed, where she knew exactly how to make me surrender. And over time, I stopped fighting. Worse, I started to enjoy it. Because beyond her obsession with control, Victoria was perfect. She was beautiful, brilliant, fiercely protective, the kind of woman who could cut down anyone who dared stand against her. I'll never forget the day a manager from another department tried to blame me for his mistake. Before I could even defend myself, she appeared calm, dangerous, devastating. "He's mine," she said, her voice low and sharp. "You don't get to speak to him like that." And in that moment, I wasn't just relieved. I was intoxicated. That night, she even held me close, whispering that she'd have him demoted to the mailroom by morning. She never did, but honestly, it was a thought that mattered. That's when it hit me. I was falling for her. For this possessive, manipulative, terrifying woman who somehow made me feel safe. Maybe it was the little things. The way she pretended to be scared of thunderstorms just to curl against me. The way her eyes closed in bliss every time I made her instant ramen, even though she called it garbage food before finishing the entire bowl. Or the way she tried clumsily to take care of me, burning dinner, shrinking my shirts, turning my laundry pink. She was chaos in the kitchen, disaster in the laundry room, and somehow the most endearing thing I'd ever seen. When our 3-month anniversary came, I wanted to give her something just as unforgettable. I spent 3 months' salary on a sapphire necklace, blue as her eyes. My wallet hated me, but my heart knew it was worth it. I set the table with takeout, lit candles, and waited. And when she walked in and saw everything, she froze. "You remembered?" she whispered. For once, the mask slipped. She opened the box, saw the necklace, and for a second, just a second, her eyes lit up. "You shouldn't have," she murmured, but she wore it instantly. "How does it look?" she asked, studying her reflection. "Perfect," I told her, because it was. Later that night, curled up together on the sofa, she turned to me. "I took down the cameras," she said casually. My heart leapt. "Finally." "Really?" I asked. She nodded, showing me her phone, every feed black. I hugged her tight, whispering, Victoria, that's the nicest thing you've ever... Replace them with better ones, she cut in. Pinhole lenses. State of the art. Of course. I should have known. Halfway through the movie, she asked, Do you regret it? Her voice was soft, but her eyes sharp. Regret what? I asked, Marrying me. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I smiled. Yeah, I regret it. I regret not meeting you sooner. Her eyes softened, and for once, a real smile curved her lips. Smooth, she said before kissing me. And in that kiss, I felt warmth, gentle, rare, fragile. When she pulled away, her head resting on my chest, she whispered something I never expected. I have regrets too. I regret waiting so long to make my move. I laughed quietly. Well, you've got me now. I do, she nodded. For a lifetime. Don't even think about leaving. Her voice was light, but her gaze was deadly serious. And in that moment, I knew the truth. I was trapped. Completely, utterly trapped. And for reasons I couldn't explain. I didn't mind at all.